going on, guys? Welcome to another episode. Feeling good, feeling stable. I feel mentally intact today. I feel like I'm capable of getting down and talking to you guys about this beautiful day that we live in, this beautiful world that we live in. Every day is a blessing, right? That's what we say. That's what we tell ourselves. Yeah, guys, welcome to another episode 66. The devil's number is actually 666, but we're getting close. Not really. We just add another 6 to the end, and then we're there. But got my hair cut. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. I've had some beautiful conversations with people lately. I'm not going to name names, obviously. Not obviously, because I think I have named names in the past, but I don't want to do that. But I've had some beautiful conversations with people, and I can feel myself growing up in a sense. I'm 23 years old. I'm young. I'm super young. Super young. Maybe not super young. It's all relative. It's all perspective, right? But I've always kind of been a very introverted person. I've always been somebody who, let's take these off. Maybe for this whole episode, we'd take these off. But I've always been somebody who hasn't always associated with people. I didn't socialize with people too much, so I didn't associate with them. And I've always kind of relied on myself for my own energy supply. So like, if I need to be in a better mood, I expect that to come from me and me only, and not in like a selfish way, like fuck you, but like in a way of, I don't want to burden somebody with my emotional baggage or whatever it is. And it's taking me a little bit to realize that I don't have to go out and communicate with other people and tell everybody about my issues, right? You don't have to do that. That's not what I thought. What I thought socializing with people was that I thought you had to, when you had conversations with people, you had to explain all your issues, and that felt selfish to me, and I didn't want to do that. But what I'm starting to realize is that just conversing with other human beings, just sitting down and having a conversation with somebody, whether it be about the weather or whether it be about a sports team or whether it be about somebody's long struggle with depression and anxiety, and then you can bounce ideas off of each other. There's an energy to that. And it's so I can't really explain it, but there's just this sense of you, like, when I walk away from the conversation, I feel fulfilled in a way, and I feel a positive energy towards that person, which momentarily takes the negative self-criticizing attitude that I've had upon myself for weeks, for months. And it's been a really good thing, and I've really, sounds dumb, but since the last time I recorded an episode, which was only 2 days ago, I've been intentionally, no, not intentionally because I'm a coward, but unintentionally running into situations where I have to speak upon other people. And it's honestly, it's helped me in a tremendous way. It's been a guiding light for me. It's been good because I'm very self-critical of whatever thoughts I have, like whatever I say. The reason why I think I can really dive deep on subjects and I can bounce around many ideas, good and bad ideas, is because I don't really take a hard stand on anything, and I never share my thoughts besides on a podcast, but I never really open myself up to allow other people to hear what I have to say in person. So even if I develop a thought, even if I develop a word or whatever it is, a viewpoint on something, a perspective on something, I convinced myself that it's bullshit, but what I've been figuring out lately, which is something that, you guys are probably going to hear and think I'm a lunatic, but when you share ideas with people and you converse with people, there is a selfish fulfillment you get. You feel good. You feel like you've done something that day. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm rambling about, but I've thoroughly enjoyed doing that. I've had some deep conversations with many people, and it's been great. It's been beautiful, and it's been helping me a lot. Like, I'm seeing my therapist today, and we're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk. I don't know what people view about that. I'm very open. Like, I'm obviously was 66 episodes in, and if you've listened to every single one, you probably know me better than some people do. So I'm very open. I'm very honest with myself, with my state, my mental state, and my physical state. I mean, everything from, how am I feeling internally to how's my weight. So I'm very open with everybody. But if you've been with me from the beginning, you realize that this is what's so cool about the podcast. Once again, my head is, I'm bouncing around everywhere today. Something that's so neat about the podcast is you're there and you listen. And if you just drop in for a few seconds, if you pop in and pop out for a few episodes, if you listen to 10 minutes of an episode, the beginning or the middle or the end, or if you just watch a clip, you get these different perspectives. You get these different ideas of what the podcast is about and what I'm about as a person, which is really interesting because the more and more episodes I post, obviously the more and more views it gets. And what that leads is to interactions with people that the person that you are and the person that people validate you as is different to a lot of people. Because depending on how much they watched of an episode, and depending on where they watched in the episode, and depending on my aggressiveness or my lack of aggressiveness, my what's the word? I can't think of it. But either my aggressiveness or my lack of aggressiveness, you can have a whole different viewpoint on me, And I think that's a cool thing because it allows me to run into situations where I have to construct my thoughts. I've been doing this thing a lot lately, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm having I'm entering a slow psychosis. That's one thing I want to speak about, dude. I could probably go back and watch my last 5 episodes, my last 6 episodes of podcast. Dude, not sleeping for that month where I wasn't sleeping. I was up every day at least by 5. I was sleeping by midnight. I was getting 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep, and I did that for like 21 straight days. I was legitimately going into a psychosis. It was the weirdest thing. I don't even remember. I do not remember that time. I do not remember getting on a podcast and talking to you guys. I don't remember going to school. I don't remember going to Virginia. Really, I do not remember any of that shit. It's so crazy how it is so insane just how important sleep is. And it's also been wild because I'm reading this book. I read it once it gets later in the evening at work. I sit down, I read this book, and I keep on talking about it. I feel like I'm talking about it every single episode. There's a reason for that because it's a beautiful, beautiful, well-written, much-needed book for everybody to read. And it's by Matthew Walker, who has a PhD. I think he's a researcher professor. I think at Berkeley. I'm not too sure. I know he was at Harvard for a little bit in the neuroscience department. But this book is beautiful, and it's so interesting how much that book has really opened my eyes up to what I was doing to myself during that time frame. And it's just so important to get your sleep. I was losing myself. I was a different person. I was getting so angry so quick. I felt like I could not lose weight, and then I got crushed with the flu, and the flu aligned perfectly with in the middle of that month when I didn't sleep for 2 weeks prior to the flu and then 2 weeks after the flu, because that's how you should recover from flu. Just stop sleeping altogether. but it's just a great book. And ever since I've made a strict schedule, like on Wednesdays and Mondays, I'm getting up at like 7 to 8 o'clock. I'm trying to get to bed every night at 10, between 10:30 and 11:30. So if I get up at 11:30, I got to be up at 5:30. I'm getting 6.5 hours of sleep, which is not what I want. I would much rather have 7, because as you're reading that book, you realize that 7 hours is still not really good enough. It's pretty much 7.5 to 8 hours, closer to 8 hours, is what you need every night to function. And you can't make up sleep. So like if you sleep for 2 hours, you can't sleep the next day for, what is that, 14 hours to make up for the lack of 6 and then plus 8 more. Your body doesn't work that way. And it's like the damage that your brain gets from consecutive days of not sleeping or bad sleep, you don't make that back. Like once your brain gets damaged in that sense, you're fucked, And it's been eye-opening to me, because ever since I've started being on a sleep schedule, like I'm sleeping 6.5 to 8 hours a night. I've been able to eat so much better, because there's different chemicals in your brain that aren't properly produced or consumed, or they're just not proper. I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. I say things like I'm just not a intelligent human being. I remember shit, I read shit, and I just spout it out in the world. Like my whole life is literally just taking like sticky things and just throwing them out against a fucking wall and trying to see if they stick. Like that's my entire life. But yeah, so I've been able to manage my diet. I've been able to study. Like that was one thing. I'm in class. I'm in my finance class like on Tuesday, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to my teacher, and I'm not dozing off in class, and I'm remembering what he's saying. Like I remember what we talked about. Like I remember exactly what we talked about, but I don't remember what we talked about for like those 3 weeks, man. It's so dumb, because yeah, no shit, sleep is important, but I'm like that stupid teenager who went through that thing where it's like, fuck sleep, I sleep when I die. Like, no, you'll die before you sleep, like you will die, like you will go into psychosis, and it just won't be good, and I did not want that. And I picked this book up right at a weird time where I needed it most. Because I was running myself fucking into the dirt, man. Like I was running myself into the ground, just like straight up Boeing airplane nosedive straight to the fucking bottom of the ocean. But it's also wild, because as I'm reading this book at the gym, I have people that walk by me every once in a while. They're like, oh, what are you reading now? Because especially the older people. Oh, by the way, I was at the gym, and this one woman, she saw me reading this book, and then we started talking about like, she's like 75. She started talking about like this magic mushroom book, and I was like, what the fuck? This is like a G grandpa. Like this is a fucking cool grandma. And I'm like, yeah, the book is about like John Hopkins research, because John Hopkins is a huge thing with magic mushrooms. They study the magic mushroom a lot at one second, Johnny Hopkins. But John Hopkins University is a research university up where I live, and it is big, and it's like the main institution that opened up a study of psilocybin, which is like the magic mushroom. Anyways, long story short, I'm not going to get into that, but long story short is she tells me about the book she's reading, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that's a super cool book. I should read it, right? And I most likely will read it. I haven't read it yet, but I most likely will. And I'm like, yeah, it's so interesting. Like psilocybin, they've recently just started doing research with it, and they're just now finding results of it where it's really good. If you use it in the proper way at the proper time, there's huge benefits to it. And it's like this weird awakening. It's always so fascinating to me when we're so smart, right? Like we make a lot of inventions. We have a lot of innovations that we as a world can do, especially the United States and China. Like our science and technology is very advanced, right? It's very advanced. We have quantum mechanics, we have theoretical physicists, we have, chemists, we have organic chemistry, we have biology, evolutionary biology, mathematics, linear mathematics, all these like different fields, calculus, all these like fields that are so advanced, right? biostatisticians, and we have all this technology, right? That has allowed us to become the apex ape, right? And we're really smart. But it's so fascinating to me, and I know there's a lot of implications when it comes to like, stigma around drugs. We call them drugs, right? That's so weird. Like drugs is such a negative connotation, but we use it with everything, right? You call prescription drugs, we call heroin drugs. Like we have like this one word. Like we need a different word for like different classifications of drugs, right? That's just, once again, I'm just spitballing. What the fuck do I know again? Anyways, what I was saying is we have all these things out there that are time after time after time after civilization after civilization after thousands and thousands of years. I mean, there's images like the Mayan Empire and the Aztecs like using these drugs, for whatever reasons. But just the fact that they were using it, they weren't fucking taking aspirin or Tylenol or ibuprofen, and I'm not saying that that's because we're more advanced than them, which clearly we are, but in some regards. But clearly this chemical is used, like there's no boats at this time, and they're using them in these empires, but they're also using them overseas in Asia and like in Europe and stuff. And it's just so fascinating to me that there's this universal drug that in 2020 is still considered to be like illegal in the country. And I get it because, the side effects, you could, if you get a really bad high, the reason why I don't do drugs is because I get scared that I might become schizophrenic. Like I don't want to get, I just feel like my brain is already processing shit at such a weird state. So it's not faster, but without a break. Like it may not be the quickest, but sometimes it's like, it's just like leveling out on the highway. It's just going. And then every once in a while it starts going up and down a little bit, gains some speed, and then it goes up a hill a little bit. All it has an accelerator. It goes up a hill and then it shoots down this hill. But I don't have a brake, so I can't slow down the hill. So I just keep fucking flying. And the only way it slows down is by just me relaxing, Terrible analogy. But there's these, so I get scared that if I don't know, it's probably just in my head, but I get super nervous that these things will make me trip balls, and then I might wake up one day and I feel like a fucking giraffe, like a zebra without like black and white stripes, but it has white and black stripes, like I don't know, but they work for a lot of people, and John Hopkins realizes this, and they're kind of like attacking the stigma. So they're like microdosing it with a lot of veterans for PTSD, for anxiety disorder, depression, these things that lead to suicide. Like these diseases. When someone says they suffer from depression or anxiety or PTSD, you don't have a knee-jerk reaction like if someone says, I'm suffering from cancer or have cancer. Both of them can lead to death easily. Cancer is more than likely the stats show that if you get diagnosed with cancer, it's not a death sentence, but your life is going to be a lot harder and it could lead to death. You get diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and not, you don't need to be diagnosed, because most people who do suffer from it aren't diagnosed, because to get diagnosed, you have to have a level of self-care. And if you fucking hate yourself, you don't have a level of self-care at all, and that's the brutal truth of it. But if I tell somebody I'm suffering from depression, there's not a positive attitude of you need help, you need real help. It's like, you'll get over it. It's because it's a mental thing, right? It's a mental thing. So if you decide one day, like I think people look at it as like, well, if you don't know how to skateboard, you'll learn how to skateboard eventually, right? If you keep on trying. And I think people think the same thing with depression, anxiety, and like PTSD. PTSD is a little different, but like especially anxiety and depression. But I was having a conversation with somebody, and the thing that sucks about all this shit, and the things that suck about the issues that come up during therapy, is that you have normalized all these things, right? When you're a depressed person, you're an anxious person, you've normalized all these things. You've normalized your thoughts. You suppress your thoughts so much because you find that they have no validity to anything ever. So you become your worst enemy. And the only time you're happy is when, honestly, is when things are suffering, or if you're even happy, and you're inappropriately ecstatic, or your emotions are inappropriately connected to certain events that happen during the day. But you tell people that you suffer from these certain disorders. And there's not a I'm not saying that this should be, and I'm not saying that one is worse than the other. I'm not, like, I don't want you guys, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that those cancer and mental illness both lead to death. Right? They both lead to death. Cancer leads to physical death. Gone. Mental illness without being treated leads to suicide or the death of a personality, which in many cases is a death of a person, I love cranberry juice, man. Oh, man. The only thing that, like, throws me off of cranberry juice is cranberry juice used to do, like, these commercials where they showed, like, the farmers of growing the cranberries, which was fine, but they're, like, in a field and people are just walking among them and their bodies are, like, touching them and shit. I was like, not a field, they're, like, in a pond. I'm like, I don't know if that's, like, really what I want to see that I'm drinking out of, but then again, that's what farming is. So, but it's so good. Do you ever ride mustache? Should I tell you, a new haircut? I love this haircut. I got it by a guy named Sam, and he did a killer job. He's awesome. I was recommended by a lot of my friends, and I'm not going to say where he works because I don't want to give up that information because he didn't consent to it. But he did a kick-ass job, and he is making me feel so much better. I have haircut PTSD. Like, I have a fear of going near that barbershop I used to go to. She did such a bad job. I was telling him this, and he's like, he's listening, like, yeah, dude. That's why everyone like I hear this story all the time. But it was nice, and I have a new haircut, and I like it, and I'm probably gonna go every 3 weeks, and I tip a lot of money because it's worth it, Shit, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm talking to this grandma about like these specific drugs. And I forget what we started talking about. I bring up. I said, have you read any of the work done by Mr. Terrence McKenna? And she's like, oh yeah, Terrence McKenna. Yeah, I've read some of his stuff. I've read a few of his. I've seen some of his quotes. I've watched some of his videos, and I know who he is. And in my head already, I'm like, whoa, that shit's so cool. But see, in my head, I've also rationalized it like this. Like, I know I surround myself in a world where I'm constantly trying to learn about things. And especially older, I like listening to older people's viewpoints. So that leads me to a lot of the intellectuals that I obviously like to listen to and read about are older, significantly older. And I don't think a lot of kids my age are out there on a Sunday evening or on a Saturday night when they should be out socializing with other people their age. I think that's what most people are doing, but I think not many people are doing what I'm doing, locked in the bedroom, listening to a coffee tea house music sound while I'm reading about Terrence McKenna, and his viewpoints on society and the corruption of politics and the corruption of the human mind being polluted with capitalism, and like his philosophy on certain drugs. So that's what I'm doing. So I ask her, you like his stuff? You like his stuff? And she's like, I forget what she said. She said something like, yeah, I used to go to Hawaii. We would grow mushrooms all the time and just, obviously use them. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's cool. But I didn't really invite that in. But then she told me she actually knew Terrence McKenna. Like, she knew him. Like, she spoke to this guy a few times. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I don't know why. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world because I talked about him for 2 podcasts in a row. But I thought that was so cool because it was so nice to hear somebody. I guess there's people who at that age are from a time period of the 80s and 70s and 60s where drugs were very normalized and people use them all the time. I always sound like such a hypocrite, I think, because I talk about drugs a lot because I love the idea of going to a different mental state. Because I know in my head, I have many different mental states all day. And I have the daytime mental state for me, which is just I'm an introverted person. It's so hard for people to believe that. But the only reason why I can survive with my brain is because of this podcast. And then at work, I'm an extrovert. But I during the day, I'm just quiet. I'm literally reading my book all day, listening to coffee house music, doing homework, going to the gym, and I do that all by like noon, and then probably by like 10. And then if I'm at school, I'm out all day and I don't get to work until 5 o'clock. And up until then, I don't speak to anybody unless I have to for school, you know? So for me, I'm consciously aware that my mental state is not, that mental states aren't like classified classically in my head, at least, as the one you have all the time, angry, sad, whatever, but elevated because of drugs. In my head, mental states are just they can be manipulated all day, And so for me, I feel like I'm already elevating and desescalating myself all day with when it comes to viewpoints and how your brain's functioning really. But I was talking to her, and it was just so cool to like listen to somebody. There's a lot of cool people out there. That was one of the good conversations I had, and it continued. It got cut off a little bit early because I had to talk to somebody about something important. But it's so nice to like, it can get exhausting, but it's so nice to converse with people. But yeah, that's either here or there, there or near, there or whatever. But let's turn on that Turk signal and let's make a turn real quick. And I want to talk about baseball. Baseball, right? So what I want to talk about? Yeah, I want to talk about baseball. So we all know what's going on with the. So this is my favorite time of the year, pretty much. Like I love summer. I don't like winter. The thing that gets me most mad about winter is when people act like they like winter, and then when winter is like really cold, they're pissed off at the cold. And then when it starts getting warm, they're mad because there might be one day where it's cold again, and they just want the warmth back. And then they're so excited to get tan and like lose weight again. I'm like, well, what were you excited about winter for? You were mad when it was cold. You liked it when it snowed, but you didn't like it when the snow stayed on the ground, and you didn't like it when you couldn't drive. And you only liked it's like who like you don't. I don't think people enjoy the winter. I think people enjoy the festivities that might take place during winter, like Christmas and New Year's. That's it. There's like a romantic viewpoint on winter. But one time of the year that I believe people when they say they like it is this time of the year. The time of the year where winter's going away. It's finally hanging up his coat. It's still February and we still could get a snowstorm between now and March, mid-March. I remember, I think sophomore year of high school, we had baseball tryouts on April 1st. Or it was March 1st. I think it might have been March 1st. Maybe. Yeah, it was March 1st. And it was snowing. So it does snow in March. That was not exciting. That was not exciting because I ruined it because I thought I was going to say April 1st. But then I realized, oh, wait, the facts of the matter are actually baseball tryouts were April 1st. March 1st, not April 1st. So I ruined that one. But this is the time of the year where winter's like going back into his hole, the little groundhog's popping his stupid brain up from the hole, looking around in Pennsylvania for like something or shadow. That's a weird one too. It's so weird that we still have like that tradition that goes on. But it's moving into a time of the year where I think people, if you could take a collective poll. If you could if you can come up with a new measurement, let's just say HAP or SAT, satisfied. If you could take an SAT SAT. Yeah, not the testing thing that decides what college you go to. But if you could take an SAT measurement, that's a made up thing for satisfaction, and you could just kind of get a pulse on it, and let's say 1 being low and 100 being high of the nation when it's like mid-March and we're getting closer to end of February, early March. I think that satisfaction is like a 90 between December 25th and January 1st. But then I think once it starts going into this time of year, I think once between January 1st up until late February, mid-February, about right now, it slowly goes from like a 90 from New Year's Day to about a 50 to 40. I think right now we're turning the corner where it starts sneaking back up. March would be like a 60. April would be like a 70. And May might be an 80. And then you might get close to like 100 during June, but then it might go back down because it's too hot, But it's that time of the year where you can just feel it in the energy. People are just, I think, just moving again. I think we're knocking the ice off our nose. We're smacking the ice off our nostrils, and we're getting back into it, and we're starting to enjoy things again. We're making plans. We're making vacation trips for the summertime. School's back in gear, and I think people are just feeling good. People holding the doors for each other, looking at each other in the eyeballs when they see each other. They're wearing less clothing. People are more provocative at this time of the year, and I think it's a nice time of the year, and I like it. I love it. I love this time of the year. I don't like winter. I hate it. I hate it. I don't like being cold. Who likes being cold? Anyone who likes being cold is fucking lying to you. Nobody likes being cold. Cold sucks. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's a crazy thing that people think that being cold is cool. No, being cold sucks, dude. Now I do like cold water, but baseball is back, and I've been listening a lot lately. And for anybody who doesn't like sports, I would, you can stop watching. But before you leave, make sure you listen 32 minutes of non-sports topics. But before you leave, please rate the video, 5-star rating, written rating. We should be able to find us on Spotify. I know some people were able to find us on Spotify. I couldn't find myself on Spotify, but I know people are watching on Spotify because they got screenshots of it. But we're there now, so I don't know if you can rate on Spotify, but you might be able to. But anyways, if you're on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Our subscribers have been going up, which is really nice. But baseball, dude, it's my favorite. I love watching it. I love going to it. I enjoy everything about it. I'm concerned. I'm worried because the Astros, and the way that people are viewing baseball now as this just cheating sport. In a sport where you can cheat and nothing happens. So the Astros, if you don't know, 2017, 18, and part of 19, honestly, if not all of 19. 2017 or 18, I think they won the World Series. They've been cheating. They've been stealing signs, which in baseball means, I think it happens a lot with players, like I think it happens where, like, if you could pick up an idea on what pitch is coming, it gives you a tremendous advantage, because the hardest thing about hitting is when you're up there facing a guy who throws 90, 95, 100, they have a fastball at 100, but then they have a slider at 85 to 90, and you don't know which one's coming. So making that split decision is what's making hitting hard. I'm not saying if you know what's coming, it's super easy, but what I am saying is that that's what makes it a complicated sport. That's what the knowledge, like the same way that football players study film, that's what baseball players. So you study what pitchers do in certain situations, and it's a chess game between the pitcher and the batter. So if, as a batter, you have a device on you, like the Astros did, like Jose Altuve might have had in this video where he's running around the bases. He always takes his shirt off when he hits home runs, but in this one to go to the World Series in 2018, he told the players not to take his shirt off, as if somebody might have been like hitting like a buzzer inside of a shirt. Hey, slider's coming. Here's 2 buzzes. Fastball's coming. Here's 1 buzz. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But the guy caught cheating. And everybody around baseball is not happy. And I think they would be I'm not saying more happy, but I think they would be less pissed off if the guys at the top actually came down with a penalty that was worth something besides just getting rid of all the managers. It was a player run thing, using trash cans and whatnot. It was a player run thing, and none of the players got punished for it. None of the players got punished. All of them are still playing. No suspensions, no nothing. The only people who got in trouble were like the managers, and it was like the excuses was like, well, it started at the top, so the leadership thing, we got to get rid of the leaders. And it's really weird because it's like, yeah, I understand it's a leadership thing, but these are grown men. They should be penalized too. And it's interesting because you're watching it now, and everybody who's anybody in baseball, players are not happy about it. Aaron Judge is talking about, a reporter was like, how does this resolve? And he was basically like, well, we see them in May, I think it was. The end of May, we go up to the Astros Stadium, and we don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be a hard year for them. And so that makes you think, well, what the fuck are they going to do to the Astros? Is everywhere the Astros going to go, they just have to expect getting hit with a baseball? Because they cheated, and it's not like they cheated for a little bit. They cheated. It's not like they were like a player, like a pitcher took it in his own hands to like take out a razor blade and cut the baseball so the ball had more movement. It was like a team. It was a whole organization cheating together. An entire organization from the top down, from the owner to the last player on the roster and everywhere in between. Jose Altuve, Correa, everybody was cheating, and there was no penalty. It's wild. It's really crazy, and it's not good for baseball. I love baseball, but it makes you become skeptical now of all the teams, which I think there's nothing wrong with being skeptical. I think it's good to be skeptical, but I think what's really dangerous is it makes you not want to watch the sport because there's no penalty. It's basically it's a wild, wild west now, and I think people lose trust into the fundamentals of it, and I think it's dangerous. The Astros are just going to be basically a target practice now, and during the season, pitchers are just going to plunk them all. They're just going to throw the baseball at all the batters on the Astros. And there's going to be fights all the time, and it's just going to be chaos. And the hardest thing, and Aaron Judge, Mike Trout was talking about it. He's such a sweet guy. He said something that I thought was hilarious because he's the best player in baseball, right? Hands down. He's probably going to go down as the best baseball player ever. And he's like, dude, imagine if I knew exactly what was coming. Imagine what I would do up there. And I was like, holy shit. Dude, if he knew what was coming, he would be hitting 500, 400 every year, batting average. He would already have 500 home runs, and he would be getting like 150 RBIs. His stats would be 450 average, 150 RBIs, and 50 home runs. But Aaron Judge brought up a good point. He's like, what did he say? Oh, he was like, I think also the Mike Trout brought up this point too. It was like the hardest thing about this, the thing that sucks the most about this, is all the players who struggled so hard to get up to the majors. Because what I know about baseball, the minors and the majors, is the difference between the minor leagues and the major leagues is completely different. Compared to how the major league players are treated, the money, you can't raise a family in the minors. You can raise a family in the majors. You can raise a family in the majors. You can make a career if you go to the majors. If you make the 40-man roster and you're making a base salary of I think like 600-something thousand a year, you can survive off of that. So all those players, all those pitchers in particular, because they had to face Jose Altuve and Correa and George Springer, all these guys who were just stripping signs away and stealing them like fucking pieces of shit. And all these guys go up there, the whole family's in town, and it's the first relieving appearance, the first start, and they go out there, and they're facing a team, and they have to do well so they can stay in the major, so they can keep feeding their family, so they can have a future for them and the girlfriend and whatever for their future. And you get crushed. You get crushed. And it's the Astros. They're a good team, right? They have amazing talent. No one would deny that. But then you go back into your dugout and you know that you just gave up 3 runs in 2 innings and had a terrible outing, walked 4 or, gave up 4 home runs or whatever. So 4 runs or whatever. You had a terrible outing and you know that that's one-way ticket back down to the minors. And that's what happened. A lot of people lost their jobs because of that. And that's where it's sickening. And it's like, the thing that's the most sickening about it, the things that makes me mad is that nothing happened to any of the players. They're all good. They still have the World Series. Still making millions a year. I haven't even millions a year. I haven't even heard of Jose Altuve or any of these guys losing deals with like Nike or anything, or Under Armour or Mizuno, whatever, whatever their contract is with all these like accessory companies for baseball and all these clothing companies. It's sad and it's sickening, and I wish there was a harsher penalty, but I also wish that it never happened, but it did, and it's something I think we just kind of got to live with. Dude, Tesla might be hitting the market today or Thursday. They could be hitting $1,000 a share soon, but I mean, they're such a unpredictable stock. You don't know what they're going to do. But yeah, I think that's going to be it, guys. One thing I do want to say is on Monday, I'm going to be posting a little video, a podcast. So I'm going to start adding clips now to this channel. I decided to just keep it on this channel and not make a separate channel for clips. So on Mondays, I think every Monday at 3 p.m., there's going to be like a little clip that goes up, and it's going to be about like a segment I talk about in the podcast. And I think that's going to help the podcast grow. And I also think it's going to provide entertainment for you guys on Monday, waiting for the podcast to come out on Tuesday. So it's going to be 3 p.m. They're going to be between, I don't know, like 5 to 25 minutes. I don't know, something short, 5 to 20 minutes. And it's going to be very obvious what we're going to talk about. The thumbnails are going to be very obvious. And they're going to be from all my recent podcasts. They're not going to be anything different. No original pieces. It's just what I talk about. I kind of cut it down in segments. It's just going to be 1 a week, maybe 2 a week at some point, but not for like the next month and a half. But that's going to be on Mondays at 3 o'clock. Make sure you show love to those. And then, Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And then for audio, I'm not going to do the clips on audio. So just so you guys know, if you guys are listening on audio, I'm not going to be doing the clips on audio, just on YouTube alone. And then for audio, the podcast drop 6 a.m. now, Eastern Standard Time, so 3 a.m. Western Standard Time. And that's helped a lot with views. I think 7:30 was just missing it by a little bit. I think 6 a.m. is a good time, and that's Tuesday, Thursday. 5 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday for YouTube. 6 a.m. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else where you listen to your podcasts on audio. And then 3 p.m. YouTube, we're gonna have clips. But I've been holding you guys a little bit too long. Maybe not. It's a little bit longer podcast, just like a minute or two. But I'm gonna catch you guys Tuesday. Have a beautiful week and be safe. And I will see you guys on episode 67. See ya. Thank you.